Hey folks, welcome back to Canada's Boxing Channel. Hope everyone's doing well. We had some rain here earlier. It's now brightened up a lot. Of course, it was raining very heavy at the time that we were trying to get some horses off to the vet. It always works out like that, doesn't it? Anyways, I took advantage of the fact that I was indoors for a while to catch up on some, guess what, boxing news. First off, I watched Frank Warren being interviewed by Dev Sarni. Now, I use the word interviewed in the biggest possible inverted commas. He was being asked questions that he wanted to be asked by a person he employs. So Dev Sarni is there to hold the microphone and to ask Frank Warren the questions that Frank Warren wants him to ask. So it's not remotely like an interview, but anyways, whatever. He said a lot of things. I pricked up my ears when he spoke about Moses Itauma, about whom he, waxed on lyrically, as they say. He said he was mature, methodical, he works on his distance, he looks to find perfect punches and combinations. All true, actually. But I'm so confused why he has taken such a backward step at the moment and fighting somebody outside the world's top 500. Belanger, a former NFL sort of player. That completely confuses me. So I was pleased when Frank Warren said that a fight with Martin Bakole is quite possible, and that a fight with Filip Hergovic is quite possible. When it comes to Bakole, he said Bakole is now 21-2-1. When it comes to Bakole, he said the Bakole fight is realistic. Billy Nelson and he apparently have swapped messages. Billy Nelson said by the end of the year, Martin would be ready. And then Frank Warren said, but, I'm not sure if Moses wants to hang around for the end of the year for Martin Bakole. And the way he spoke about Martin Bakole was that he didn't view that Martin Bakole was sort of like, great shakes. Certainly not somebody to wait around for. For me, it would depend really on which version of Martin Bakole showed up. And we've talked about this. We've had a whole video about this. If the Martin Bakole that beat Jared Anderson shows up, well, then I'm very excited. That could be a real test for Moses Itauma. And I would not be surprised to see Moses Itauma lose against that version of Martin Bakole. I would imagine he would be a lot smarter than Jared Anderson was, though. Fight a different fight. If, on the other hand, the Martin Bakole that F.A. Ajagba just, I almost said beat, drew with, because that was the decision, although I think most people think F.A. Ajagba did enough. If that version of Martin Bakole showed up against Moses Itauma, then I would expect that Moses Itauma would treat him sort of like a mobile heavy bag. And I would imagine that Moses Itauma would be able to prevail unless he did something really stupid. So it would depend really which version of Martin Bakole showed up. Hrgovic, Frank Warren said, it's easy. Like they're both Queensberry fighters. I can make it any time. He didn't really expand upon that. Like that would be, I would imagine, a super easy fight for Frank to make, and that's what Frank sort of said. Hrgovic, 18-1. It's only lost to Dubois. Some people, and a growing number of people, I think, argue that, strictly speaking, that fight should have been stopped on cuts, which it was, but since the cuts were inflicted by the head, it should have gone to the cards. And in that case, that fight is a Hrgovic victory, not a Dubois victory. Anyhow, the record books are what the record books are, and of course Hrgovic lost to Dubois. Hergovic and Itauma, I've done a video on this as well. that fight doesn't exactly excite me as much as the possibility of a fit Bakole. But Hrgovic would definitely tell us a lot about Itauma. And it would also tell us a lot about Hrgovic, actually. So anyways, either of these fighters, I'm very happy for Itauma to fight. Absolutely. But I would like to see his career restart. I don't know why. I can't explain why. I've got no answer as to why he's fighting this former NFL guy. No rational explanation. In other news, Bob Arum, Bob Arum's 94. Like, Bob Arum's old enough to be my dad. He's still working. It's just stunning. He was saying that Canelo is a bad business person. He said Canelo used to be really exciting. He was great pay-per-view. He would put on an entertaining show, demonstrate his skills, and then knock somebody out. All super exciting, right? But that he's not a good business person now because he's putting on these really crappy, boring fights. And he poured absolute scorn over William Skull, who I think we've all talked about here, and we probably all share Bob Arum's view. What a terrible, terrible performance that was. On the subject of Canelo, well, tangentially, Edgar Belanger is teasing, I suppose, Hamzah Sheeraz. Hamzah Sheeraz is Mr. GQ. He's at these press conferences, whatever. Hamzah Sheeraz is a very classy guy, and Edgar Belanger is just ripping into him, right? He says that the only reason that Shiraz agreed to fight him next is because he was promised by the event's organizers, most notably Turki Al Sheikh, that if Hamzah Sheeraz could prevail, that he would get a shot at undisputed against none other than Canelo. He said, Berlanga said, "I'ma be honest, they only doing this because they told him, if you beat him, if you get by him, we giving you Canelo. So he had no option but to take it. That's what I was just telling him at our press conference. I said, you ain't have no choice but to take this fight." And of course, Hamzah Sheeraz said, look, I'm coming to your hometown, I'm coming to your backyard. And of course, Edgar went off and said, you was forced to do this so you could try to get that Canelo fight because they promised you that fight. But other than that, I'm going in there, I'm looking to hurt him. Interesting how Hamzah Sheeraz is such a golden child, right? Obviously one of Turki Al Sheikh's favorites. Now moved to Dubai, citizen there, Riyadh season ambassador. Very, very fortunate in his decision with Carlos Adames, but gifted a draw. Adames kept the belt. Adames beat Hamzah Sheeraz. I think most people would agree. Hard to blame Hamzah Sheeraz for being the beneficiary of such, largesse, right? When the king smiles upon you, you smile back, right? But it is interesting how, at least on the face of it, how unfair it is to a lot of boxers struggling in that 168 division, thinking one day they might get a chance at the life-changing opportunity to fight Canelo. And Hamzah Sheeraz, who was not being a world champion in any other division or anything like that, gets plotted in first with Belanger, and then, does he get the fight with Canelo? I don't know. Anyways, fairness has had nothing to do with boxing for a very, very, very long time, if ever. So shouldn't really moan about that. Okay, that's all I saw this morning that I thought was interesting. So I'll leave you there. Please like, please share, please subscribe. And wherever in the world you are, have a fabulous day. It's time for me to go outside and do some more chores. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.